cold hard fact remained that she had been the sister-in-law of a Mexican Mafia member, David Big Spider Galvedon. Cynthia was the wife of his younger brother, gang member Roy Little Spider Galvedon, who was understandably angry that the woman he married was needlessly shot down in cold blood. At one point, Little Spider went on a verbal rampage against Boxer and the others involved in the hit. He claimed they were on the lista, marked for death under the authority of his big brother. It was a serious enough threat at the time that Boxer had discussions with his crew about knocking off Little Spider too. In the end, he decided to give him a pass. Big Spider had never mentioned Cynthia's murder to Boxer. In fact, the elder Galvedon once told a gang investigator at Chino State Prison that he knew the hit was strictly business. Still, Enriquez knew there was animosity toward him. Why wouldn't there be? In reality, he had a member of the man's family killed for nothing. Boxer knew his own status as a carnal gave him some leverage with Galvedon. On the other hand, Mo and Jocko were more vulnerable. Mere camarada pawns on a prison chessboard where all the kings were mafiosi. He felt they needed more clout to survive, some insulation from political payback. Jocko and Boxer had become great friends. They did a slew of robbery extortions together and enjoyed each other's company. Padilla had no unbridled lust for blood, but he loved dope and making money. A keen street business sense was his strength. Mo was low on intelligence, but high on violence. Boxer always thought he was a good guy. He didn't hesitate to kill when you asked him. So Boxer sponsored Mo for membership in La M before he went off to prison, and Mo became a made guy. At the same time, he arranged for Chuco Castro to sponsor Padilla, and Jacko was made too. Their years behind bars would at least be spent with the added potency of being a carnal. Boxer, who felt he'd taken care of his loyal camarada friends, left the Los Angeles County jail system with a huge Mexican Mafia reputation. He was a dedicated doer, an astute organizer, a prolific drug dealer, and, most important, to those in the mob and to those who feared him, a brutal, ruthless killer. Within days of his sentencing, Enriquez was transferred to California Correctional Institution at Tehachapi for an uneventful 6-month stay. Then he was moved to his new home at Pelican Bay State Prison in Crescent City, the maximum security lockup in the entire state of California. Boxer knew he would have to dance with the devil at Pelican Bay. There were enemies there. Among them were Indio Carlos and Mon Bunrostro, who still bore multiple scars inflicted by Enriquez's shank. Hell, even the murdered Pelon Gallegos probably had some old mafioso friends who might want to settle a score. Mafia politics were always tricky. He knew in the back of his mind that there were going to be problems. I knew the end was coming and that I'd be killed or forced out of the organization. No one lasts. I just didn't know when or how the exit would be. Pelican Bay State Prison opened for business in 1989. It was made for criminals like Boxer and other die-hard prison gang members who have no respect for the law or the system that houses them. Inmates who kill in and outside of prison with no regard for the consequences of their actions. Before he even got off the bus at Pelican Bay State Prison, a portly sergeant, Aldo Capusi, announced with a thick Italian accent, "You in the big house now. You start any of shit and we'll fuck you up." That's how it's typed up, man, straight up. A maximum security prisoner is held 22 and a half hours a day in a windowless, solitary confinement cell called a special housing unit, SHU. The purpose of the SHU, according to CDC literature, is to protect staff and male inmates throughout the system from the few most violent predatory offenders. Inmates sleep on a poured concrete slab molded into the wall and have an immobile concrete stool to sit on and a small concrete writing platform. No metal parts to make jailhouse shanks. A thick honeycomb steel-plated door, no bars, limits an inmate's ability to assault others. Toilets have no removable parts that could be made into weapons. The inmate never sees the outdoors. He can normally exercise 90 minutes a day in a bleak doggy walk, the size of a 2-car garage, caged in on all sides by 18-foot high concrete walls and an open air ceiling covered by a heavy wire mesh screen. Anytime he leaves the cell, He is first handcuffed through a small slot in the door. He is waist and leg chained, escorted at all times by 2 or more correctional officers, and video monitored from a raised control booth where an officer is always ready with a Mini 14 rifle. No social interaction between inmates is allowed. Most prisoners are housed in single cells. Folsom used to be the end of the road. Now it's Pelican Bay. Boxer insisted that the shoe didn't bother him, but prisoners call it Skeleton Bay because you go there to die, really. Snitch, debrief, or die. New inmates are walked through a sally port and metal detector adjacent to the docks where the prison bus unloads. Pelican Bay is a maze of bland concrete tunnels that make a fresh prisoner feel lost. A gray shadowy path is worn into the cement floor where thousands of prisoners have been led to their cells. A half-dozen correctional officers surround the latest arrivals, and there is a gun walk above them with an armed guard. The fat sergeant makes it clear that if you move, he will blow your head off. Welcome to Pelican Bay State Prison. It's a little different from the welcoming speech that I typically got, but you guys get the idea. It's along the same lines. Ironically, Pelican Bay is a bit of a safe haven because there is no central yard there for inmates housed in the shoe. Arguably, the only man who can kill you is your cellmate, if you are lucky or unlucky enough to have one. Boxer's first cellie was crime partner Little Mo Ruiz. There was no scientific selection process. A correctional officer simply announced, "Pick a cellmate or we'll give you one." Each cell block was divided into 4 or 6 pods. The pods were like spokes on a wheel emanating from a raised control booth hub. In each pod, there were 2 tiers, 4 cells on the top and 4 on the bottom. Boxer and Mo were stripped naked and escorted into one of the pods. A facade of bravado showed on their faces, but it wasn't easy to maintain a convincing swagger with nothing but your epidermis and private parts showing. A facade of bravado showed on their faces, but it wasn't easy to maintain a convincing swagger with nothing but your epidermis and private parts showing. On the stairs leading up to the second tier, little metal teeth designed to prevent slippage bit into their bare feet. It was uncomfortable and the guards wanted it that way. Correctional officers were badly outnumbered, 3 officers for 50 inmates in each shoe. Some subtle intimidation wasn't a bad idea. Their nude butts stuck to the plastic mattresses when Boxer and Mo sat on the lower bunk. They looked at each other and talked, keeping our eyes on the road, recalled Boxer, and trying to act as if we were clothed. Hours later, COs brought them each a pair of boxer shorts that were a few sizes too small. "Tight ass, come fuck me boxer shorts," complained Enriquez. It was a way for the guards to remind inmates who was in charge at Pelican Bay. Mo had pea-sized acne all over his head, face, shoulders, and buttocks. Boxer was used to seeing it, but not what happened next. Mo sat on his bunk, popped the huge pimples, rubbed the pus and blood between his thumb and forefinger, and wiped it on his underwear. Then he got up and helped himself to cookies or potato chips stocked in their cell, sticking his unwashed hands into the bags. It was disgusting, and Enriquez finally told him, "Don't touch my shit. I will not eat your pus." Little Mo was offended and got angry. He also still harbored some resentment over the fact that Boxer divorced his sister. Mo never tried to kill him, but 6 months of pimple popping was enough. Boxer Enriquez suffered a bad case of celly fatigue and asked the guards for a switch. It was done.